My favorite Breaking Bad moments, the first one would have to be when Walt confronted Tuco. Tuco had beaten up Jesse, taken his meth, taken his money, and Walt was still kind of more chemistry teacher. He wound up going to Tuco's headquarters, and he didn't have a gun on him, and I didn't know what he was going to do and how he was going to protect himself. But he goes up there and he basically lays down the law, causes an explosion.
This is not meth.
He gets Tuco to be his distributor. And then this is the first time that he said, "My name is Heisenberg." It was really a very cool introduction to his alter ego that we would come to know so well.
My single favorite moment is when Walter White sees this kid buying products for making crystal meth, and he knows from doing this what's happening, gives the kid advice on what to buy. When the kid's out in the parking lot, he confronts the drug dealer who's much bigger and more intimidating than him. But Walter tells him to stay off of his territory in this really menacing, very Walter White voice.
Stay out of my territory.
And the guy actually responds because this Heisenberg persona is so convincing and so intimidating. My other favorite moment is the first showdown between Walt and Gus in the Pollos Hermanos, when Gus establishes this sort of covert meeting so he can observe Walt, and Walt can't quite figure out what's going on, and then eventually pinpoints Gus for who he is. And Gus, who seems like this clean, mild-mannered guy, eventually becomes all business, this evil meth kingpin.
How much product do you have on hand?
38 pounds. Ready to go at a moment's notice.
The first of my two favorite moments comes in season 4, the episode Salud, when Gus poisons the entire Mexican cartel, including himself, just for the purposes of revenge. He does it coolly, he does it calmly, he's collected the entire time. It's terrifying how cool and collected he is. And it's interesting because the only other character we see with that level of calm, while also balanced with a certain level of evil, is Todd. And in the following episode, in Crawl Space, at the end of the episode where Walt is rushing home to find money and only to discover that Skyler has given it to Ted, we see Walt completely lose his mind. It's a reminder that Walt has never been the calm, cool, and collected kingpin, the powerful ruler that Gus was. And Todd is the one who comes closest to it, which is kind of appropriate given that he's really the violent, terrifying foil of this final season.
So some of my favorite Breaking Bad moments have to do with Skyler. I kind of was racking my brain as to the evolution of Skyler over the course of Breaking Bad, and had come to two moments that will stick out in my head as turning points, I think, for her. One, in season 4, she walks into a meeting with the IRS.
Whew, this building is so confusing.
And she's trying to cover up this fraud that she had, to cover up some tax evasion, and she had already kind of been working with Walt at this point to help launder some money. And I think it shows her resolve, her being as clever as her husband.
Well, I haven't had any training per se. I've always been naturally good with numbers.
She goes in and rocks it in that scene and totally dupes the IRS into thinking that she was too stupid to have pulled this off. I think it's one of the moments where you're like, I actually really like this woman. In season 5, Walt is seemingly very protective still of Jesse, who has by that point turned on him, or is close to turning on him, has already gone into his house, trying to burn it down. And certainly not a person that a wife like Skyler is going to forgive easily, despite Walt wanting to forgive him. And so turns to Walt and she's like,
"What's one more?"
To me, that just sealed the deal for Skyler being great.
Another favorite moment of mine in Breaking Bad would have to be this last season. Walt's racing through the desert because Jesse's insisted that he's found his barrels of cash. He sent him that fake photo on the cell phone. So Walt thought that his money was discovered and that Jesse was burning it, and there was that line, "I'm gonna burn 10 grand every minute until you get here." It was funny, and Breaking Bad does dark humor so well. So it was funny, and it was also very poignant because Walt had spent so much time, 5 seasons, telling Jesse what an idiot he was. And together, Jesse and Hank concocted this plan that outsmarted the teacher.
Coward.